Good morning. Welcome to Retro Toy Princess, Allison Troy. And we're here to color some superpowers with my guest, Chris Plastic. Good morning-ish. First up,
Hello.
brunch time.
What a perfect time for audio issues on my side.
Nothing wrong with that. While we wait for Chris to figure out what's
Okay, I'm back in,
audio
hopefully.
configuration. It was just working before we went live. There it is.
Yay!
No,
No.
it's gone. No audio for anyone?
What a time to be alive.
Let's see. There we go. I hear you now.
Okay, so Brandon can hear me.
Yeah, there is a little bit of a lag, I think. Okay, you can hear Chris. Yeah. Excellent, I can hear you now. But I am lagging for some reason.
Yeah, that's how it goes. We're here to color, thankfully. Yay!
Yeah, that's... Right, I wonder... There we go. Okay. Seems to be lining up better on my side. I don't know why. It clearly is Firestorm.
It's the Firestorm matrix. You know, it has a way of messing with things.
No, it's a little... It's quite unpredictable. So yeah, no. All right. So anyway, I guess we'll go ahead and get started coloring, and hopefully whatever the lag suddenly cropped up is will go away. Oh. All right. Yes, we're doing Firestorm from a 1985 Superpowers coloring book. I let Chris pick the pictures because it's what you do with your guests. You let them pick what they want to color. Yeah, and it's interesting because this is at a time when they were really pushing Firestorm, and he seemed really popular, and then he was not. He didn't seem to fare well after the Crisis on Infinite Earths for some reason. So, I never quite understood that because he was not one of the characters who got a massive change.
But the Jason Roche reboot in the 90s was really excellent. I like the way they tied in old Ronnie Raymond to that.
Yeah. Yeah, no, he did get a good eventually they did. It seems, I mean, I hate to say this because John Ostrander did some really good stuff, like Suicide Squad, Checkmate. Like he did some his Spectre Post Crisis was really good, but for some reason, I never really cared for what he did with Firestorm, where he like made him an elemental, and it seemed a little much for where Ronnie started. So, but also I figured that was probably sales were lagging, and they did that whole thing they used to do where make some radical changes. Really quick,
Hey, it
let's
worked
say
for
hello to the chat.
Batman and Superman in the 90s, right? You kill Superman, you break Batman. Everybody loves it.
Yeah. Brennan is here. Welcome, Brennan. Then Nolan made it, so we have officially arrived when Nolan is here.
Ooh.
And good morning, Duchess. Lovely to see you. Yep, so the Duchess and Nolan, so very good. All right. So yeah, my brother was a big Firestorm fan. I wasn't, but I think it was because he showed up on the Superpowers cartoon, like the Legendary Superpowers Galactic. So
yeah, he was definitely one of the
comics reader up that point. It actually was Superpowers that go back.
He was a later addition for sure. I don't know if you saw Dan Larson over at Secret Galaxy did a history of Superpowers this week.
Yeah, I watched Superpowers. I think Friday, was that the day it landed?
Yeah, he typically drops on Thursdays, but you know, Friday. The internet time is timeless.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good point. It's when I watched it, but I may have watched it. I don't know. Like, not only is the internet timeless, but my concept of time and days is a little off. Especially when, you know, between work and work, sometimes the days blur together.
Well, and you know, he had that all important thing kids loved in the 80s. Flames for hair. Kids love that kind of thing.
Oh yeah, he well, in the whole like nuclear, he was as timely as the news. His whole origin about being blown up in a nuclear reactor, and because he went to, if I remember, he was only at that protest, that if I remember correctly, to impress a girl. I think
That sounds right.
Correct. It's been a while. And then his girlfriend becomes Firehawk, and they really quickly they really did, though, if you think about it, like with Firestorm, really pushed quickly with the second series, The Fury of Firestorm. The first one that they canceled doesn't seem like it. I don't know. And then he had the backup series and The Flash for a while. I think George Perez drew some of that. You need to double check, because that is one of the places I still will collect old comics even now, is if it's George Perez who drew it. Oh. So, because Perez is the man. It's like George Perez, Colleen Doran, and Dick Giordano. Like, I have to be more selective, because once Giordano became the editor-in-chief of DC, he was sort of all over the place at that point. So there's some stinkers that he drew, but if he's drawing Wonder Woman, I'm all over that because he draws a really lovely Wonder Woman.
It's funny how many recent comic book news really here. How many like really big new 52 reboot writers and artists are jumping ship to Image right now from DC. I think Brad Meltzer, who just went over as well as, or Metzler, as well as like Jeff Johns and those guys. And it's kind of a shame because I know like they did some really good work. I know Jeff Johns is kind of a tool, but wrote some really good stuff.
He became, he probably was it's not like you become a tool overnight, honestly, but there was a point where it's probably was easier to overlook him being a tool because he was writing some good comics. But that kind of ended. Like he got to a point where he was just not doing good comics anymore. And it was just all, at some point, his whole like need to wrap everything up into one thing just got a little too much. Or
Sure.
like the way he was bringing in, suddenly everyone's a legacy character. It was just, I don't know, like, it was a bit much for me, I think. But in the beginning, he did some good work. Like his original, I guess it's our own fault because in the beginning, when he did a lot of that with the JSA, like a lot of, and like the Star Spangled Kid, Stargirl, when it started, he did some good work with that stuff. So I think it just over time went to his head where he was just like, oh, this is what people love that I do. Let me do more of it. Always, constantly, over and over.
Oh, but I loved his Teen Titans.
Yeah, that was a really good run. I am very happy. I mean, one of the things I do like is when he brought back Dawn Granger. And helped bring Hawk and Dove back because that was the tragedy that we lost them to bad editorialist nonsense.
Right, because they had to quickly pivot because of Monarch being revealed before they meant to, and to blow it all up, right?
Yeah. And I guess, and sort of, I don't actually collect anything new. I haven't even been buying like Wonder Woman, even though allegedly this new series is like good or so. I don't know. I just after the new 52, it's sort of, and then with Rebirth, I started rereading, and I was kind of there, but for Wonder Woman, necessarily. I know a lot of people like Greg Rucka's work on Wonder Woman. I'm not really one of them. He seems to really have a particular vision of her that I don't feel is quite on point. I feel like a lot of the reason for Wonder Woman, we get some of the. I mean, he's the one who wrote her snapping Maxwell Lord's neck, and I mean, I get it. It's definitely like she definitely made the right decision, but it just. I don't know. Like it just, and he's also a big proponent of the Wonder Woman Superman thing, which is gross and stupid. So
it is. I hate that. It's dumb.
Wonder Woman would never date someone like Superman. Superman is like, and Lois Lane makes sense because of Lois's personality, but just I don't know, like. And it's just more interesting, I think a lot of it is just like, oh, she's so powerful. She must be with the man who's more powerful than. It's typical man bullshit, I think. But like for Steve Trevor, it makes sense because I mean, I also like sort of the nature of that because the whole point of it is, well, one, Wonder Woman's from, she doesn't need men. You know, she hasn't been raised to like value like male companionship. So the fact she chooses, you know, like, and sees something in like a quote unquote normal man. I don't know. There's just something about that to me that I always, even, you know, when he was being written kind of poorly in the 80s, I don't know. There's something cool about that. Like, you know, about sort of the whole concept of like, you should be with somebody who you know, like care for. And like, just because Steve isn't as powerful and strong as she is, like, he's not overly, I mean, every so often there was Lois Lane level insecurity on Steve Trevor's part. But for the most part, like, he kind of dug that she was independent and, you know, chose him, but didn't necessarily, like, need him. I don't know. One thing I will say in the modern stuff I read in Rebirth when they brought him back as the love interest to sort of line up with the movies, that is one thing I feel like they did get correct, was sort of their relationship. And like, you know, it was obviously complicated by like her being basically a goddess and, you know, like as strong as she is and as all the responsibilities, but it's never really about her being more powerful than him. It's always all of the things that she feels responsible that she has to do with her power and her status way of their, and then his job stuff because, you know, military. So I don't know. I preferred that. Okay with that. Makes more sense to me than Wonder Woman. And Superman is just kind of boring. Like, I cannot see Wonder Woman sitting on the effing farm waiting for the corn to grow and milking cows. Like, just come on, guys. Come on.
I mean, I'm sure there's some of that,
It's
some
just,
agriculture
Internet
on
fanfiction is
Themyscira.
like a monthly comic, not so much. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, New
and
52
Black
was
Phoenix and Brennan both are basically agreeing. You know, and I was just, the thing about New 52 that I will admit was I was kind of in the beginning. Well, I was annoyed when I heard they were doing it because Stephanie, Batgirl Stephanie had just gotten really good. Like, it really felt like they finally understood what to do with her, Stephanie. We had a solid, you know, like we finally got good Teen Titans again. Like JT Kroll I really felt like he had a vision and was trying to do stuff and get the Titans so that it was fun again. The less we say about the adult Titans going over there, probably the better, because nobody seems to know how to write them post Wolfman and Perez without it feeling like it's nostalgia grab or just like fascination of Starfire. But there was a lot of stuff I was really enjoying. Wonder Woman was not one. I was the Babylon 5 guy was like, let me take her out of reality and put her in pants. And it's like that's also weird to me is the way that all these dudes who are fine sexualizing a lot of superheroines and the ladies of comics all get really, really, really like puritanical when it comes to Wonder Woman. She needs to be, nobody can take her seriously in the bikini. It's like, sir, you're one of the people who wrote Starfire like a space bimbo, yet I don't know, it's a really interesting thing, I think. about certain men, like how their attitudes to a woman to be as powerful as she is, and is, like iconic as she has to be a little bit more discreet. We can't have her butt hanging out. Um, but we need to. But again, at the same time, you know, I don't know. It's just weird to me. Like the Star Spangled Bathing Suit never bothered me because like it was. It never felt sexual to me. It was just made sense. Like you don't. Like she's not bulletproof, but she's also not. She's a little bit more durable, and it's probably a lot easier to fight in that bathing suit than it would be in pants and a black biker jacket. What is it with them? Always trying to put in a biker jacket as well.
Well,
I
it's
don't know.
it's better than the '90s attempt when I think Artemis was Wonder Woman,
Yeah,
and they gave her the kind of the weird bondage wrap under the leather jacket.
yeah, yeah. That was Brian Boland concept outfit, and I feel like that costume tells us a lot about Brian Boland. Great artist, but yeah, the
Well, and
whole like
there's
biker thing that she had. Weird. Uh,
there's so many unresolved storylines with the launch of the New 52 that really bums me out. And Firestorm was one of them because coming off of Brightest Day, he was counting down for some reason to some sort of like nuclear destroying the universe thing. It would have been interesting to see where that would have gone.
and the Artemis thing though was also I don't know, like what was it about the '90s where like they had to like break all the heroes and replace them with edgy '90s versions like
Um,
Azrael,
you
Cyborg
know,
Superman, the Eradicator.
revisionist history being what it is, it was supposedly DC editorial going, "Oh, you want everything to be McFarlane and Ed, Image and Liefeld. We'll give you that, and then you'll realize you didn't want it." Revisionist history.
It surprises me though that like I mean because that's never I was always DC like I read a little Marvel but after they killed I mean I was very young when I read it but I read X-Men Monthly and when they killed Phoenix like that really upset me and I didn't other than and um some like Indiana Jones either other than like sort of that the adaptation of a lot of Marvel after that because they killed Phoenix. I always sort of liked that DC was less grim and gritty. Crisis kind of. Crisis obviously had a high death count, but like even post Crisis in the beginning, like DC was very. There was always hope to DC Comics. Like the Crisis was horrible. Worlds lived, worlds died, but we got all of these sort of reboot characters and like these new takes and like you know, for the most part, it was full and it wasn't a grim, gritty, massive nonsense. And I don't know, like, and that's kind of when I stopped reading comics for a little bit right before college, was because they killed Armageddon in 2001, they killed Dove, they, Teen Titans, like the never ending Titans hunt. It was just bad. And then Justice League, the classic Geffen, R.I.P. DeMatteis and like McGuire era, where it was just like it was really. But then they went through breakdowns, which was their grim and gritty, like, and they killed the Silver Sorceress, who was a real, who I had no idea when it was a riff on the Scarlet Witch. That wasn't until the internet where I found out all about Squadron Supreme and the Assemblers and Heroes, you know, just sort of the riffs of all of that. But I like actually the Silver Sorceress more than I like the Scarlet Witch. But she also didn't have all those years of baggage. So it was pretty cool. Yeah, exactly, Brennan. Exactly. No angsty fate. That's also sort of when Dr. Fate got spectacular for, and then Johns turned Dr. Fate into a Hawkman legacy character. I guess the thinking is if we can tie them in, I don't know. But again, now Infinity Inc. sort of got all dark and gritty toward the end of the 80s, beginning of the 90s. I blame Watchmen and Alan Moore. Like, it's like, yeah, that story is great. It was a good deconstruction, but like, not all comics need to be The Dark Knight by Miller and Watchmen.
Are you sure that doesn't sound right?
I'm really unhappy with sort of the current state of comics because of that. Get some shading. It's interesting. I was actually, because I sent, you know, like I sent you a couple books. I was really kind of happy when you sent this Powers one. Like that was the one you picked and the pictures you picked, because there's not necessarily a lot to them. I'm like, I'll actually be able to get both of the ones you picked probably today, because it doesn't always happen. But it was interesting because I was going through it, prepping for today, and I was just like, a lot of the pictures in it are really sort of very simple, very straightforward, which isn't even in coloring books back then was not always the case, but still solid art. Some of the whoever was in charge of the word balloons for this coloring book probably needed to, you know, like not get paid for their work because it's pretty bad.
You're telling me
And some
you
of
don't
this, I think, is just Jose Garcia art that they like. Right.
you don't just fly around saying my name is Firestorm? Like I know I often just wander through the hallways at work proclaiming my name is Crayons.
Yeah, right. Yeah, my name is Firestorm. Well, and there's the other one where with the Wonder. It was very sad because I like, you know, like obviously Donna Troy for a couple of reasons is really important to me. I mean, that's how I got my last name. Like when it was time to rebrand my last name, um, that was like, I was like, let me pick Donna Troy, and it's like that picture. It's like her and Wonder Woman, clearly like just lifted right off of clip art. But it's like they're running down the shore into a river or a lake or a pond or something. We're chasing the cheetah. It's like, okay. Which really suggests that the cheetah and Donna Troy were at some point planned to be added to superpowers before Kenner decided to start creating wholesale their own characters.
So,
That's what killed that line. I don't care what anybody says. It was that the way that final way.
I know there was a planned or a pitched Teen Titans cartoon, and I would have assumed that Donna would have been there.
Yeah. Well, in the beginning, when Kenner pitched superpowers, it was a lot like Supergirl had her own. There was a Supergirl. Everything was basically going to have sublines. So there was like going to be a Superman subline and a Batman subline, and there was a girls line that had like 12-inch fashion dolls of like Supergirl and Lois Lane. They had like Lois Lane, like role-playing stuff, like be the reporter. And there was a whole Wonder Woman line where it was, they were going to do, and there would be place set, like Green Lantern was going to have like a charging base for his thing, and there was going to be more Green Lanterns. There was going to be an entire Teen Titans line, which would have included all of them at the time, and we only got Robin and Firestorm. At some point after they got going, they sort of went the direction they did. And I know people like the fourth. I'm not a huge fan of like Darkseid and like from Wave 2, and it was real all those kind of villains, and we didn't get a like I wanted the Legion of Doom as figures. I didn't want all these weird fourth world characters and Darkseid, and I didn't like in the cartoon how like Darkseid was trying to capture Wonder Woman to make her marry him. That was weird. Like, why? Why would you do that? So for me, like I personally, like the superhero selection in Wave 2, Green Arrow, Red Tornado, Dr. Fate, those are really good. Like those really made a lot of sense to me, and I liked those, but it was just like the villain choice. It was just all fourth world. Like I could have got maybe like one or two, give us one or two of the, give us Darkseid and like a Parademon, but it's just like, where's the Cheetah? Where are all the characters from Superpowers from Super Friends that, Scarecrow, Sinestro, Captain Cold. There were so many characters we should have gotten in Wave 2 that we didn't, and I'm happy because I would assume Jack Kirby got paid from some of those. So like, yay, Kirby finally getting some money, but like at the same time, I don't know. I just should have been balanced out. People give a lot of reasons why the Superpowers line sort of crashed, and nobody wants to talk about the boring characters because as kids, I didn't know any of those characters. I found out because of the Superpowers tie-in comics, but I think Wave 1, if they, you got the Joker, you got the Penguin, you got Brainiac, and Lex Luthor. Those were pretty iconic. And there were so many iconic villains. You didn't even have to like, they could have just stuck to Batman and Superman and still, given us Zod and based on some of the materials, like, not the Catwoman that people are always sort of trotting out. That was like probably a Batman Returns prototype. But like some of the Superpowers merch had Catwoman in her purple skirt. It had the 3 Phantom Zone villains and some of that stuff. The Cheetah, I think the Scarecrow. I have like from the press kit, I have that picture. At some point that will get colored and probably as a daily short. So for anyone interested, there is definitely more of that stuff that I've got planned, but I don't know. Who was your first superpower figure, Chris?
Honestly, I missed superpowers as a kid. I got the Toy Biz figures, like Robin here, who was basically superpowers, but didn't have the pinch gimmick and the lame metal joint pins instead of plastic. But it was definitely Batman and Robin were my first
Yeah.
toys that I can remember getting. And it's solely because of reruns of Adam West.
Okay. Right.
Even though, strangely,
Yeah, I
you
would
know,
watch, and that was in syndication when I was a little one.
that show will live forever, you know, just because it was such an important
Yeah,
part of
it's
so many people's lives.
it's a huge pop cult. I mean, just pop culture in general. Like, even if you're not interested in superhero stuff, you know, like that series. So, I that like when I was like I said, it was also the same time the Filmation New Adventures of Batman cartoon came out. So I would watch that Saturday morning, and then Sunday afternoons, one of the 3 TV stations that we had at my grandparents' house would show Batman. Um, so, and it was the same time that the Wonder Woman TV show was on. So it's like Wonder Woman and Batgirl. My dad would bring home comics from his job he worked nights at 7-Eleven to work his way through college. And he would bring home this, because they don't, like if you don't sell a comic, at least back then, I don't know how it works. Now I guess you just keep them. Which is why all these comic shops have all the back issues. But the newsstands strip the covers and they just send the cover back because you can't sell it without the cover. So my dad would bring home all of these comics that they would have just thrown out. So there's a lot of Superman family starring Supergirl. So I knew who Supergirl was really, like Superman was always sort of supporting character there, and like Jimmy Olsen. And so when my grandmother took me to see the Superman movie, I was really confused because there was no Supergirl.
Sure.
And Jimmy Olsen and Lois Lane kind of weren't the stars of it. They were just background, because that was what I was just, it was about all of his people. I had a Batman Mego doll because they couldn't find the Batgirl. And my parents were like, we can't find Wonder Woman. And they weren't going to buy that, the 12-inch from the Wonder Woman TV show of Wonder Woman. I think 10 to 15 bucks at the time, which was a lot for us. I was lucky I got the Princess Leia large size doll and a Death Star, because my dad was making broke college kid money at 7-Eleven. But that's how, so it was really weird when my grandma took me to see that Superman movie, that none of what I expected from it, again, no Supergirl. I'm like, but where's Kara Zor-El? He only shows up to help her at the end or do a quick cameo. So, but by the time of Superpowers, I was, I don't know, 10 or 11 probably. But it was the right time. And then it did get me really back into comics. I went up and I bought Wonder Woman 305 from the back issues, which had I actually did a short of the cover. That was the first back issue I ever bought, and it had a Gil Kane cover of like just Wonder Woman with the symbol doing her swirling her lasso. It was a moody story with Gene Colan art, where like Cersei is just menacing and sends a Minotaur to get Diana and Etta as they're having lunch by the White House. So it was really good back issue because it was not really a standalone story, but it was written like a standalone story. And then after that, at the newsstand, I found Wonder Woman 311 with the Giordano and Ross Andrew cover. And it was when the Gremlins, Wonder Woman met some Gremlins who tried to steal her invisible jet. There are no official coloring pages of that, but I've been working on imaging with my imaging program to make one, since it's such a, and of course it was 84. So what were all the kids about in 1984? Gremlins. So it was the 1-2 punch. You've got Gremlins, you've got Wonder Woman. You've got a kid who doesn't know that most people think Don Heck art sucks. And so Don Heck was my favorite artist for a couple, because he drew Wonder Woman. And a lot of my bad art draw a lot of my bad habits and like how I do anatomy. I can look at now at this state in time and be like, yep, that's 100% because I used to try to copy Don Heck's work.
It could be worse. I grew up.
It is interesting how all of that.
I was a young man coming of age in the 90s, so I modeled my art on Liefeld, and I clearly never learned to draw feet.
I've been actually trying to like pick, because I used to draw a lot, and then I've had a block, which is kind of how I started coloring, because I could color, I just couldn't draw. It's like a block. But I've been watching tutorials and I've started practicing again, because I've taken so far away from it that the process of sort of relearning some stuff will hopefully break me of a few of those bad habits, and then I can make my own coloring pages and I don't know, start drawing again. Maybe I'll resurrect all of my comics stuff I used to work on. Somebody needs to read my crappy comic. What is the current status of Firestorm in DC? Do you know? Like, is he alive? Is
No
he
idea.
dead? Is he Jason Rush? Is he? He's probably dating Superman. They're like, he's
That's
too
it.
powerful. We
There you
need to depower him and get some diversity.
The last DC series I tried to buy and read was Tim Drake Robin, because I wanted to support my boy. The art was just awful. So bad.
Yeah. Yeah, the art is really hard. And I mean, I get it. They're kind of all comics honestly are kind of getting what they pay for at this point with their interiors. So yeah, it's pretty hard. Like you can tell, like especially when a new series launches, that sometimes they'll do like you'll get a good artist for like the first 3 or 4 issues, and then after that,
Well, it's not
really, I
even.
don't know. It's really.
It's not even the first
It's
3
sad to me, 'cause
issues.
comics used to be such a big part of my life, and it's like I miss that, but I'm not also willing to suffer through
Yeah,
and
I'm
spend
just gonna
tons of.
throw
At one point, my pull list was $200-300 a week, so I
some
had
of
a
the
problem.
art.
Let's see. Oh,
Yeah, it's
yeah,
bad.
some of that's exactly what I would.
It ain't great.
I don't know. Some of it, yeah, it looks like whoever's drawing it has. It looks like whoever's drawing it has some skill, but it's just like the storytelling of what they're doing is not great. So
Well, my problem here
let's see.
is Tim
Quickly,
is
let's
supposed
check
to
the chat.
be older.
Brendan. Yeah, they are kind of drawing him so he looks youngish. like Damien age almost. Let's see, Brennan, just to shade, to do the shading on him was just various Prismacolors. And for all of this, the background, I'm using the Caran d'Ache water-soluble crayons. So, and then I put those down, and then I just go in with a brush and water and sort of move it around. It's kind of like half-ass watercolor, but I enjoy it more than watercolor. So, if I had a hair dryer and did this better, like my pages warp when I use it because of the water. If I actually had a hair dryer and was slower, then it wouldn't work. But by the time I get it scanned and everything, it looks fine. And you know, like when I get to a point where I can offer membership, a lot of the perks are going to be, but you just want a free page. Pick from these 10 pages and I'll send it to you. So some stuff on Etsy at some point. I don't know. All I know is I'm not going to be able to carry all these pages. I've been doing a daily short for like 6 months now. Almost, no, not 6. When I'm finished with daily shorts, I will have done them for 6. And that's a page a day for 6 months. So it's a lot of paper. And the Shira, I don't necessarily want to. I don't envision. Some of these I bought specifically because I thought they would be fun to do for videos. So you know, I'm not necessarily attached to some of the stuff. You know, there are people who do sort of archival work on coloring books, and like I've bought stuff from them, which helps them keep their, you know, keeping going. And then I've bought stuff that I scan in that people haven't archived yet. So like because there's some, you know, some of these old coloring books don't have great art, but some of them have some really gorgeous stuff in it. And a lot of these old coloring books also have original stories in them that like aren't adaptations or not, and haven't been told elsewhere. So one of my motives among many was like, well, if I color every page in those books, then I will scan them and turn them into like videos and call them lost stories to put up on the channel so people can actually read these stories. So it's a long game I play with my content. All right, and now I'm pretty much finished with the main part of Firestorm, so let's go in with my handy dandy white paint pen and give them some stars and all sparklies. Make it all fancy. How, yours is looking pretty good over there, Chris.
Oh, thank you.
How's it feeling?
What's that?
I was just asking, how's it feeling to be coloring? Like, not, I mean, I'm not sure. It's because of the, because I made recommendations as to like what to, you know, like some tools you could use. I haven't watched since you've done anything like this.
Yeah, it's nice. It's you know, it's kind of calming to get to just sit here and do this, you know. I shared with you that I practiced a little bit before today, if only to just not come in here and be like, oh no, I don't understand how color works.
Yeah, no. Well, it's funny because I've had a few people I've asked who are like, oh no, I can't do that. And I'm just like, well, yeah, you can, like, but it's not going to be good. And it's like, that's not what this is. Like, the only person to me that it matters if they're not good is me. Like, I should kind of know what the fuck I'm doing. Um, and I should have something presentable, but like, my gas is just here so I can hang out with people I think are cool in color, and the whole relaxation part of it. It's good for de-stressing. Also, there's I'm one of the people who are a proponent for like adults who sort of collect. We're a much happier group of people when we're creative with our toys. Coloring books, despite what some people want to say, coloring books are a type of toy. It is one way that I, as a kid, when we were kind of poor here and there, like, you could get the entire toy line if you bought the coloring book. It wasn't 3D, it wasn't in your hand, but like had every character, and So I don't know. It's been like, just, oh, I will be terrible at that. I can't do that, and it's like, but I bet you can, because it doesn't take any special time. It just takes. Our people would be like, it's not going to be in the lines, and it's like, I can't imagine anyone who's stream is going to be a jerk like that. And if they are, we'll just call them a jerk, and I'll tell them so. So let's see. And really quick, Tony is here. Hello, Tony. I'm going to try to get Tony on to color with me at some point, or talk customs. Muriel, hello, my friend. You've watched a few of my streams, I think, Chris, so you probably have, quote unquote, finger quote, met Muriel, but she's one of my besties. She and I are actually going to be doing a Wonder Woman podcast, which you'll have to come on with us at some point, because we're going to read all of the old Wonder Woman comics, starting from her first appearance. And obviously I've read all of them. Muriel has not. So it's going to be interesting. So, and we all know that's a tried and true internet YouTube trope. Like, you get the person who's been doing it and the person who has no clue what's about to happen, and make it a thing. So
we don't have friends who that's
we'll
their whole channel.
so we can talk old Wonder Woman comics. Right. Right. Yeah, right. I mean, exactly. Like, I've got a couple people where that's their whole channel, like, and that's fine. Like, I think there's plenty of room for that. I enjoy that content, especially if it's something I've watched, because I like. One of my first podcasts that I would listen to every day was Twin Peaks Unwrapped, which was a guy who knows everything about Twin Peaks and a guy who's never heard of it watching it for the first time. And it was really, and then of course I rewatched it with them. But it was really cool because it was just like, it's the closest you're going to come if you're somebody who is a longtime fan of something. It's the closest you're ever going to come to experiencing it again yourself for the first time, is getting to like talk to this person who's seeing something for the first time and reacting to it. So I think it's a fun. I mean, there's a reason it's a tried and true format.
Sometimes I just want to enjoy a little bit of Schadenfreude. So, like, I will watch people watch the music video for Johnny Cash's Hurt for the first time, and the sheer joy that brings me.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, yeah. There is a guy on TikTok that I watch who reacts to music, and within the last few months, because time, he listened to Goodbye Earl by the Chicks now, but the Dixie Chicks at the time. And it was just funny, his face as that song progressed, because this starts out, he's like, oh my gosh, this is, and then it's like, when he gets to the part about Wanda started getting abused, his face, and he was just like, oh my god, what? And then no, and he just, and then it's like, when it gets to the part about him having to die, like he kind of nodded his head like, yep, okay, that tracks. I can see that. So all right. So I don't know. I actually enjoy watching React for the first time type content. So I am the demo. All right, I just finished the Firestorm, so I'm gonna put up the Robin. We may not finish. I don't know. We still have about an hour, so I might. That was again. That's one of the things I liked when about the pictures you picked was like, they weren't super complicated, so that I could. I like being able to finish the whole thing on stream. So yeah. Anyway, let's start out and just give Robin some skin color. This is a Prismacolor called Eggshell, because Robin is that white. He's so white, we start with Eggshell. Oh wait,
I mean, let's be
Actually,
honest.
That wasn't all Italian. I feel like that was in a comic where
Their whole like hours of operation are at night. You don't think they're getting a lot of sun.
We'll put a little. I always put a little pink in Robin, his skin. You know, we all talk about Dick Grayson. Let's take a moment to appreciate that even in the 80s, Robin had the cake and these little green shorts. All right, let's pull up. It's green sleeves. Got my reference photo for Robin. Oh. All right. I just threw a pencil and I don't know where it went. So if I suddenly scream, it means I found it and it went behind my back. So luckily, that color I have over here. All right, there we go. Give him the green sleeves. Gloves. And his little booties. I always love the little Peter Pan booty things with this big flap on the back that you know the Joker would have. And so one thing about his costume that never made sense was the flares at the shoes.
You know,
and what
again,
are they? Are they like?
Oh, the thing
like,
about
surely
Robin
they have like a soul or something.
Is the inspiration was Robin Hood for him, and I think that's why they had the kind of the silly flares.
Yeah,
because specifically we're going to be referencing Errol Flynn, Robin Hood.
Yeah. It just sort of makes sense, but I don't know. I mean, it makes sense that that Tim Drake did not get the booty feet. Well, he did actually in the beginning. He just had the exact same costume, and then
Well, yeah,
Bruce gives him a better costume that has armor in it, so that he can't easily be beaten to death by the Joker. And so.
Yeah, because he initially just steals Jason Todd's costume.
Oh, the Joker.
Oh, that
So
old prank,
overused.
beating a child to death.
Interesting, considering that for a long time there were like he disappeared during the comics at the beginning of the comics code because he was too murderous, and then when they brought him back in the 60s, he just played whimsical pranks. And then in the I think it was Denny O'Neil and Neil Adams where he actually became murderous again and got darker. And then Alan Moore took it too far. In retrospect, I don't know that getting the Killing Joke for my 13th birthday was probably as fun and wise of a decision as I thought at the time.
Well, the Killing Joke was supposed to be Elseworlds. It was supposed to be non-canon. And DC editorial went, no, we love it. It's great. The kids are going to cry for it.
Yeah, I do remember thinking it wasn't. Like reading it and thinking, oh, well, this is just not in continuity. And it wasn't until Barbara Gordon showed up in a wheelchair that I was like, oh, continuity. Which again, dumb, especially because she got that last Batgirl special by Barbara. Well, she was Randall, and then she was Barbara Kessel, and now she's Barbara Randall. I think she still professionally goes by Kessel, but she did that great like Batgirl special that was like the last Batgirl story, and they gave her a whole, gave her some supporting characters, gave her a bunch of interesting quirks and characteristics, and like you're like, oh wow, they've really set Batgirl up to be a cool hero. And then the Killing Joke. Like, thanks guys, that's what we needed. I don't know, like I like I talk all the smack I do about New 52, but when I kind of looked at it, like pretty much from Crisis onward, it was just a clusterfuck of dark and gritty choices. Oh, Brennan, exactly.
Oh, it's bad. Oh, man.
Yeah, like the whole, no.
Bruce Timm trying to hook up
Brennan's
Barbara
got
and
some
Bruce.
At some point I should see if Brennan wants to come on in color. He's got
Ugh.
Yeah, not cool. Not cool, Bruce Timm. And this is also a good point. To be fair, stealing Batman's hubcaps. Not sure that merits being beaten like a pinata, but certainly some harsh words. I agree. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, the pinata thing was a bit excessive. But again, not have been trying to steal those hubcaps. So.
Well, and
I
originally,
guess the Joker is just a little bit more aggressive on like manner. And
we think of Jason Todd specifically in terms of post-Crisis, where he's the hubcap stealer. But originally, he's just, a Dick Grayson clone, a redheaded circus kid whose parents died doing acrobats.
That was and he had blonde hair. He dyed black or were that was never clear to me. And then Nocturna tried to get custody of him, and her. That was kind of a fun. I mean, like although it was weird, that was kind of a fun time. Like the whole Nocturna storyline was kind of cool. Like I didn't hate that. She was a cool villainess, though. I think was part of it. But even she, like after Crisis, when they tried to bring her back, they just made her strange, weird, and gross. Like nobody needed that.
Supposedly,
apparently
Brennan.
DC did. Let's make everything weird and dark and it's like that. Yeah, it was close.
Supposedly, it was only that close though because people
it was really
didn't know it wasn't Dick.
Just, I don't know. Like, right? It just seemed like a weird. I don't know. I think it's always weird to me. Yep, 100% Black Phoenix. I mean, we see it out in a lot of Rise of Skywalker movies and media now, where it's like the creators will overly listen to like the very vocal parts of fandom and then change stuff, and then it's actually not better. And I feel like the killing of Jason Todd was one of those things where it's, especially at the time, because comics were sort of, there were a lot of long-term things that you would have planned out. It just seemed they would allow the readership that much impact, which would have such an immediate effect over like the next 20 years of Batman. I don't know. It's, like the writer then adapt everything to like a dead Jason Todd instead of whatever he had planned. I'm of like, the soap opera method where you send the kid off to college and they just sort of don't come back if you don't. And then like later somebody else who has an idea for the character can bring them back from college or whatever. Like, I don't know.
Well,
I am not in most cases a proponent of killing characters, even if I don't.
There were competing Robins to replace Jason Todd.
Oh wow.
Yeah, Tim Drake ultimately won, but the alternative pitch was Anarchy was to be the next Robin.
Yeah, but they didn't figure Tim Drake out until later. Like he was sort of, because the whole thing was they didn't think that Batman needed a Robin, and Tim Drake was created specifically because they're like, oh wait, maybe he does need Robin. So, it's just like, yeah, but they could have brought in Carrie Kelly, because Carrie Kelly existed at that point. They could have brought her in then. They didn't try to make Dick go back to being Robin from Nightwing. That would have been a dumb choice. Yeah. Yeah, it seems like they quickly abandoned the idea of the fan vote thing, because it has not come up after that. So yeah, I don't know. It's just a curious choice. Like, I guess I'll see whenever I'm like, well, no, I can't even say that, because if I ever do a vote for like letting people think that they want to see it, it's going to be because I've already got it finished or I'm almost done and they're picking between things that they're going to get anyway. So I can't say that I won't ever do a like, what would you like to see more or first, and that it's not in the works anyway. But that's the advantage when you're on the level you and I are on, Chris, is we don't necessarily, other than trying to get people to watch, we don't necessarily we don't have big audiences that are wanting stuff that we're not going to deliver, because like right now my wonderful subscribers, several of who
If people only knew the amount of things I've abandoned creatively.
right. Well, I kind of well, I know some of them because like like we've talked about them but sort of behind the scenes, and like I I I'm really sad because some of the stuff you have like gone through with, like I thought would be really cool, but also like if you're not feeling it, you're just not feeling it. Like I think an easy trap to fall into is just making. I mean, I think there's some bigger YouTubers say stuff like, "Oh, I love this thing and I would love to make videos about it, but it doesn't get enough views." And I'm just like, I would be really miserable really fast if I was only making stuff that I knew would get views. Um, Fortunately, nothing I've done so far that's gotten a lot of views is stuff that I would do anyway. So like, I'm fortunate in that respect. But I could see where it would go weird, you know, if you get into that loop. So it's one of the reasons I'm trying to stick to stuff that seems fun, and the people who watch the stuff that I do, I'm hoping they find it fun and they're just ready for more of the same. It's pretty much what I'm doing on YouTube now. It's going to be what I'm doing on YouTube. It'll get, my production style will get better. I'll get better at editing. Um, and I'll get faster once I get more experience with it. And I'm going to play with sort of short form of shorts, but pretty much if you don't like the coloring and you don't like history of figures and my know-it-allness about stuff, probably, yeah, I'm over here today. Well, hopefully for Chris, because Chris is amazing. But, I'm not suddenly gonna start doing a ton of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle videos for the views. So good luck everyone who chases the views that way. But I mean, that's what I think I do like about your content, Chris, because you do have a couple of videos that have blown up, but it was for stuff you actually like and were doing. I mean, it was like your Batwing stuff, and it's like that was stuff you were buying and wanted to do anyway. So it's not like you specifically bought Batwings and did Batwing content to get views. You did content that you liked about Batwings, and people watched it. So
Oh, but the
that's
high
kind
was
of the way to do
amazing.
it. Right? Yeah, no, it's cool whenever something, like a few shorts that. What's interesting is my Teen Titans short has been a slow build. Like, I should check it right now because I released that on Thursday and it's just slowly but surely been going, picking up views.
I have to admit, I was surprised that for the music on that, you didn't use either The Kids in America, because that seems obvious, or like some version of the animated Teen Titans theme.
I didn't use I used the Kids in America whenever I did the Donna Troy page from the Nick Cardy art of like it's the new Wonder Woman, the new Wonder Girl Tigers. The first time she had the red jumpsuit costume. I have the showcase, the big black and white phone book editions that DC did for a few years there. I got that for the two classic Titans runs, and I scanned that in and made that giant page into a coloring page. So I used Kids in America for that one. I did use Kids in America over on TikTok when I posted the Titans over there. Just so because if you reuse the exact same music between the platforms, sometimes TikTok will flag it as duplicate or not original or whatever. So I used it over there, but I liked. Also, I've noticed when I use music by Belinda Carlisle or the Go-Go's, like I get more views. So there's apparently a lot of love for both Belinda Carlisle and the Go-Go's. And the audience of people who watch shorts were some bougie bitch colors on the internet. So like, I'm just, you know, you got to play to your audience in that respect. Like, I don't hate the Belinda Carlisle or the Go-Go's. So, hey,
there you go.
and I get to listen to those songs many, many times while I'm trying to sync it up just so that I can try to get it where I want. So, yeah, I don't know. It was. I sort of was like, maybe I should just reuse it. But then I was like, oh, wait, in a couple months, I'm going to do it. Oh. Let's see. Really quick. Tony's face. Robin's costume. Yep. Exactly. See, Tony, this is the sort of knowledge Tony brings. That would be fun to have on. And then Brennan. I gotta think some anti-Robin blame lies with Tim Burton. Yeah, exactly too. Johnny. Johnny says, gotta record today, but popping in to say hello. Hello, Johnny. Yeah. So. Yeah, that's a good point about the anti-Robin in the movie. And I think Tim Burton calling anything creepy is questionable, but okay. I mean, no shade, but
takes one to know one,
you know,
Tim.
like Edward Scissorhands, there's some weirdness to that. Yeah, kind of. Like, I'm just saying. Like, I ain't saying he's a gold digger, but no. Yeah, I don't know. It was just weird, you know, to me. Like, yeah, I don't
So
know. That just was always when I think it's weird.
So one day I was going to a concert, and to waste some time because my wife was at work, I just stopped in a bar just to have a drink to burn a little bit of time. And unbeknownst to me, a buddy of mine had moved back to town and was bartending. And we quickly just started talking about how bad a neighbor Bruce Wayne is.
Oh,
You know, just like, don't you think it's weird that he
yeah.
just has a cavalcade of young men who look a lot like a younger version of himself hanging around the house all the time? Or just the insane amount of ninjas in the
It's kind of like
neighborhood.
Leonardo DiCaprio and how he always right. Well, you gotta think that there's like, you know, the bat, all of this sort of sciencey things he does in the Batcave. You know, they gotta think he's a Walter White type. You know, like down the street making and cooking some stuff up. Like it just, I know I would think that. Like there's people with a container, one of those containers close to us who like, I'm sure store normal stuff in there because it's a construction business, but like I'm often convinced that, you know, they're making stuff just because I'm suspicious. Yeah, he would be a really bad in general. I mean, I would assume Selena Kyle probably, you know, because he lives obviously in an affluent, rich neighborhood. So I bet she often robs them. So you've got all the kids being loud and aggressive and creepy old butler and clowns.
Not to mention the uranium poisoning from his unregistered nuclear reactor hanging out in the Batcave.
Well, there's that too. Yeah, I mean, that would be a concern. Like, where does the waste go? Like, Are there three-eyed fish? Like, it just seems like a lot in that entire scenario. Oh, I missed his other arm. Oops, sorry, Dick. He's got a whole other arm. And I missed it. He was almost armless. There, right. There you go, Dick. You have both your arms back. Sorry, I was about to jokerize you. Yeah, elbow anyway. Good point. Oh. About spelunking with a bunch of young gentlemen in the privacy of your own. That's an excellent question. Excellent.
Yeah,
I've heard this also about Burt Ward, and yeah.
I don't know if I want to live in a country where someone thinks it's odd that you're hanging out with other young gentlemen like-minded in a cave.
Right. Yep, it's true. And they both wrote books about it. Is there a rumor about Burt Ward's arm? Do tell. My understanding is baby seal, I think is what we would say. Like a baby seal, which according to one of my exes is significant. And I will trust his judgment and comparison in the matter because he, I mean, you know, he had ample thing, yeah, like his judgment based on his personal experience and his, yeah. So anyway, he knew what yeah. So I'm not sure how to say that diplomatically, but basically, yeah, he was hung. So when he says somebody else is, you know, like hung like a baby seal means it's big, I'm gonna trust him. So let's say it. If you make it this far into the stream, you can deal with a little R-rated combo. Not like we're going the Sex and the City route. Say that for my After Dark content whenever we get to the After Dark.
Supposedly, Burt Ward had to take pills to fit in the shorts to keep it appropriate for the kids.
Oh, so you're sicking now. You probably had to tape it down and then yeah, right. And the girl who had to, the wardrobe lady who had to untape him at the end of her life for a while there. All right. It's about as much. All right. And then let's make glass is, I hate glass. It's like one of the hardest things to figure out what to do with it. But we're just gonna go blue. There we go. That works. Can't tell how that looks on stream, but I'm gonna hope it looks okay. There we go. Perfect. All right. Now, all right, we go back to the fun stuff. I realized the other day that the way I use these is a little bit like those paint with water books that we used to have. And they sort of do a little bit of the outline and then go in and move it out. But I always hated those as a kid. They're always, I don't know. It was not a great product, but I could see how it would be appealing. But the horses that died to make those brushes that those books came with, I feel sorry for them. Poor guys. All right. It's Gotham, so we're gonna make this guy purple. All right. It's Gotham, so let's do an orange layer of pollution. That's not a cloud, that's Gotham pollution. And some Joker venom and Bane's breath. And the penguin's gas from all the fish. Excellent. Red in there. And for the night, a little. All right. Excellent. All right.
What the fucking?
All right, let's see. Yep, exactly. Yep. Indeed, Brick, indeed. Night. It's a pretty good Gotham night. Yeah, works. Right. You know, Brick, I thought about it, but no. I do have other coloring book stuff that we'll definitely be doing as content at some point, some Jokerized Robin stuff, but not with this page. I wanted to. The Superpowers coloring book this comes from is a pretty short book. So this is one of the ones I'm going to work on finishing, so that I can put up sort of the full, put it up as like a full video of completed pages for people to sort of watch. I'm actually even contemplating, because there are a lot of activities in it, like crossword puzzles, word finds. It's a coloring and activity book. I might actually in this try printing those out, because some of them do have pictures on them that I could color, but also sort of printing those out and doing them. I don't know yet, because I'm trying to decide whether or not I should do the puzzles or if I should just leave the puzzle part undone. Like, so if anyone watching this has ideas about whether or not I should do the puzzles, feel free to comment in chat or in the comment section or whatever. So, because I've not yet decided if I want to do that or not. Because usually I just have been coloring, but in this case, some of those puzzles have pretty decent artwork on them. So it might be worth and then it makes sort of it's complete, so it's actually the whole book and not just the coloring pages. So I don't know, I'll figure it out probably this week whenever I print up a few more pages from it to color between some of the two other bigger projects that I'm currently working on for coloring stuff that I'm not going to talk about just yet because I need they're long. But yeah, so I've got some stuff coming up that coloring centric. It's pretty cool. Let's see, Brennan. Yep, exactly. McFarlane. We're up to 97 Batman, 67 Jokers, 53 Robins. 12 of them have a purple cape because the cape was Jokerized, but the other capes are normal. There are 32 Batwings on the way. One of them is gilded in gold and comes with the Supergirl from the Flash movie, but she's been Jokerized and she has a Joker head for no reason other than she's super Jokerized, Supergirl, you know. And a bag of bones that hinted in Christmas colors and has a handful of mistletoe, and it's the mistletoe playset from Batman Returns. So that's all on the way. Exactly. Finally, not Wonder Woman, but a good Wonder Woman. Like, he's given women that are just, what are you doing, Todd? What are you doing, Todd?
You know, I just today got the Flashpoint Wonder Woman,
Yeah,
and it is shockingly good.
Interesting. I'll have to check him out. Brendan, I doubt Todd is watching this. You know, like, he and I have a grudge going. Not watching it. He's probably listening to Moby right now. How many gummies for Bud? At least 17, and he's up to 92 cookies, Rhea. Good to see you. And I wish we could just imagine. Yeah, those would be cool. I would actually like the Tangent figures from the Tangent stuff, like that Tangent Wonder Woman was pretty cool. The Tangent Flash, Leah. So I do wish Todd would sort of dip into some of that if he's gonna give us 30 Batman and a bunch of Wonder Woman and a bunch of sort of like the main characters. And I get it. Like, again, like earlier I was complaining about part of what killed superpowers for me as a kid was like made up or sort of C-list villains at the time. But we live in a different world. So we live at a point where like he should really be giving us some of these really obscure variants. Because I also think with what, you know, there, as much as I sort of poke fun at McFarlane, one of the things I think he does do really well is like, I may not like all of the weird variants we've gotten of Wonder Woman. If it was a different character, I would probably like them more. But the sculpting on his various lines has come so from where he started. Like, he's got some of the best sculpting that is in the toy industry right now. Like, he makes nice looking figures. It's just, unfortunately, they don't often look like the character they're supposed to be, which is a problem, or it's just such a, you know, like his, yeah. So a lot of his female figures tend to have, I can't even call it resting bitch face because there's no rest for like sculpts that angry. But like, I don't know. It would be fine if it was not Wonder Woman. Like, that expression would be fine if it was, yeah, a different character. So I don't know. Like, I don't have a lot of issues with the actual sculpting per se, and just it often feels like the characters aren't themselves. And that is one thing I'll mostly give to DC Classics. Not only go really deep in character selection, but it looks like the character. Like, even with some of the design issues I had with, you know, because every woman in the Horsemen have come a long way doing women, femme, lady, and female figures. Because they were, you know, a lot of Masters of the Universe classics, a lot of the ladies have that dark look. You know, and they sort of have the open mouth teeth, like sexy, sexy porn girl look. They've come a long way from days. Like Mythic Legions, like the female figures I've seen and the ladies in that line look really good. And they all have really unique looking faces. So they've really upped their game. So, you know, but that was an issue I had with DC Classics, where it's like Wonder Woman and Black Canary and Artemis. And
The issue I had with DC Universe was figures like this, where, Jack Knight is jacked no end. And meanwhile, Stargirl is a twig of a woman. Oh, she was a teenager, but
Yeah, that's another thing with those is that the women are. Yeah, and again, because I'm, one of the things I do for toys on the internet is tooling. I fully understand the limits, like in this day and age with what tooling costs, etc. I understand why there's so much reuse, but like they needed more than one female buck for that particular line, and there needed to be a slightly beefier, more muscular woman. There needed to be a teen girl, like, because Stargirl shouldn't be the same height as Black Canary, and there was just too much consistency in it that, like, for me, didn't play well. And I'm sure there are other people who felt differently, and I love, but they're wrong. And we're going to the over reliable. I'm going to put some stars in. I will say, like, for a discount, if DC Classics have been a discount, like for the DC, the 3 3/4, the Infinite, like the Infinite Crisis or whatever it was called, with the littler figures all being like basically
right.
the same height, because that was like $5-6. When I'm paying 15 to, like I was paying, like in some cases it would be like up to $15.
Yeah, the little figures had weird club feet for a while there. It was. I don't know what Mattel wanted to do with DC,
Yeah,
and I don't think anyone at Mattel could tell you.
I don't know.
I was very happy when they lost the license.
Yeah, because it's interesting. Toy Guru doesn't actually talk a lot about his time working on DC beyond how the failure of the Green Lantern movie screwed up his plan for Green Lantern figures. But like he doesn't really talk a lot about DC Classics.
Now it's been well over
maybe
a
he
year.
can't. Maybe there's some sort of thing you sign when you're working.
But he did a wave by wave breakdown of DC Universe Classics. But he went through that and then it was dead to him, I have seen people do some really cool Black Canary
same,
customs
Brandon. I would
with
love
toys.
Santana and Black. Yeah, I feel like I have a really good DC Direct Kevin Maguire Black Canary, like in her 80s gear. Like I really like that figure, but it's DC Direct, so it's of course got a certain look. Like DC Direct figure, any of the Direct toy lines sort of has some limitations. I forgive of those lines that I don't, if it's like Mattel that's releasing it, because it's two different vibes in my opinion. Really like to. I want a golden age Black Canary with the domino mask. I want the sort of classic 80s Black Canary. I want that. It was sort of like the modified golden age outfit that she wore for most of her career. And then I want that 80s, like a headband with the big shoulder pad wing things. And then sort of the default type, variations of the outfit she wore during Birds of Prey. Like he could give us a couple Black Canary variations with very little new tooling, based on how that uniform worked. Like, and it would be really nice to see a bunch of that happen. I think Black Canary is, and Zatanna, but definitely Black Canary is one of those characters who has a lot of potential on an action figure line, like on toy shelves. Like she's got a lot of people who know who she is. She has a pretty solid fandom, but she's also really unique. There's a lot you could do with her that, you know, she's like one of those characters who could become a breakout toy because of all the different things you could do. She would look great in superpowers. Like, I will say I'm pretty excited by some of the newer stuff we're seeing in superpowers because it does show the Todd Batman and Superman. You know, like the like the Charlton, like that's a really amazing set of figures. Like it's got some, you know, there's some problems, but at the same time, like I'm willing to overlook them because those are characters that I never expected McFarlane would do. Even Peacemaker with like the show, I never expected we would get, you know, a lot closer to his classic 80s look. But how could so yeah. Sweet. I actually finished this one too. This is a record. I've never finished two on the stream. Thank you for your choices, Chris.
You're welcome.
I accomplished something today that I never thought I would. And it's because these are not quite, I don't say this in a mean way to anyone. They're not quite as detailed as what I normally we normally do on this stream because let's go and put a little green there. There we go. A few places I can touch it, but I don't know, it's pretty cool. I appreciate that for sure. All right. It's actually awesome. I'll have definitely definitely expect that I will hit you up again to come and color superheroes because I just got that cool Batman coloring book I showed you. So we'll definitely have to come back and we'll do some pages from that.
Oh, absolutely.
At some point in the future. And when I say some point, I mean like probably in 2 or 3 months. When I get to the point where it's like I don't want to meet any more new people on stream. I just want to like hang out with my friends. I'll be like, hey Chris, I need Chris friend time. Please come color with me again. Here's some Batman stuff. We should I sent you the 70s Super Friends one too. We should do that one, something from that one next time. Because there's some funny pictures in that one as well.
Yeah, there's a lot of like just fun activity time
kind of like
in
what
that
I
one.
like about this so far is that for the coloring anyway, I've only invited on so far people that I enjoy hanging out with and people I've had a lot of time chatting with or have had me on your in your case like you fit all of these boxes, but and I've been on your show and so we could talk Ahsoka. Like I don't know. I don't want to be cliquey about who I invite, but it's just like there's so many cool people that I've met through YouTube and have hung out with in Discords and then like people's chats and like I just like at some point everybody who's ever shown up on Oz's, I'm gonna make them come color with me, and it's because even though we spend 6 to 8 hours hanging out on Oz's channel, it's like I like hanging out with all of you people. Oh. And Black, I don't know if Black Phoenix is still here. I did do it. Black Phoenix, once Black Phoenix gets everything set up, it will be a no people on camera day, but Black Phoenix is going to join me at some point, and it's just going to be 2 pages side by side as we color and talk. So
that's fun.
So yeah, like I've got some people, and if Brennan ever wants to come on and color, like he just has to hit me up. Tony will be on here. I've already let him know that will happen. So I don't know. I don't know. It's also because we're not about like Ahsoka, and this isn't any sort of diss against doing that. It's just fun that like we don't even necessarily have to. I mean, you and I talk anyway, so like this is perfect. But like, I did a pre-record with Aaron Payne's Custom Samples, so that we could do this because his schedule obviously is a little bit tricky. And we did G.I. Joe, but we didn't really talk a lot about G.I. Joe. Like we talked about other stuff, and that was cool. Like nothing wrong with that. Because we're more than just sort of the toys. But I don't know. I enjoy getting all the geeky hangout time with you and talking comics. So you'll definitely get invited back. So if you get off this and hated it, you have time to figure it out. So that when you do come back, you can pretend you like it.
Sure. Well, I enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun.
That won't take no fun answer.
I had fun with both these pages. They're both characters I like quite a bit.
Are you ready to show your work up to the screen, please?
Sure. I'll actually flip to my nice camera though. Yeah.
No, let's do it. And I'll put it on the big screen. Let's see. All right. Here we go.
All right.
No, that's not the one we want. All right. Wait. Oh, wait. Okay, there we go. Solo layout.
So
there we go. You're the star, sir.
Quick life hack. I wanted to use some nicer paper, but I didn't want to buy paper, so I took my Corolla coloring pages and just printed on the backside. But there's my Firestorm. Ooh. I'm actually quite happy with my little flame effect on that.
That looks really good. I enjoyed that.
And then of course,
yeah, no, that looks really good. I like that.
Got a robin here. For some reason, I decided that was a bush, but halfway through, I'm like, it could be a cave opening.
So you got accurate coloring for the motor. Yeah, no, that's so.
But yeah, I'm really happy with both of those and the way they turned out. I'm not a world-class artist, but I'm happy with my color pencils you recommended me. Thank you, Brennan. I don't know what happened to Allison. I'm not hearing her right now. But I want to thank her so much for having me on today. Her work was just incredible. I kept peeking out of the corner of my eye and going, oh, no. Even though I'm not going to compare myself to her work because it's just stunning. Absolutely stunning. It is awkward sitting here right now, vamping for the host. Yeah. If this is it, good stream. Thank you, Black Phoenix, for being here. Muriel, who is, of course, Allison's good friend and future co-host of a Wonder Woman podcast, which is great. Allison Troy's on her way back now. Dig the collection spotting on the Mr. Freeze. It's a mess right there behind me right now. Later today, I'll be hanging out with Brick Something on his news channel, which is great. And of course, every single day, Allison's going to be doing shorts, posting some coloring with some neat little bits on them. I love her work. I just scroll through shorts and just hit that like every single time I see it. And please do the same if you haven't. If you're just tuning in, hit subscribe, hit the like button, comment on this video for Allison. I'm still vamping. Radical Toys is in the chat. Hi, Radical Toys. You guys are awesome for being here. Hit that like. Listen to Tony, who will be a future guest on this channel. The one, the only Rhea Black is here. Ray Black. Allison's back.
Hello. The internet. Gotta love the internet. It was like, no, girl, you're done. But I was not. So anyway, while I was waiting to get back on, luckily my phone has internet that didn't get rolled, so I was able to. You did a great job summarizing. I was tempted to just leave you and let you finish up on your own, but that would have been rude. So,
Well, I
but yeah,
will
all the
say it
things
was
he
getting
said,
real.
smack the light.
It was getting real awkward. I was feeling a little bit like Garth after Wayne got fired in Wayne's World.
I know, right? When he was there alone. Well, see, there you go. You got to have that moment. There's something there, you know. So, yeah. No, sorry about that. You know how the internet can be, especially this is my first time with a second webcam for the picture, so I think the internet was just like, oh, what's going on over here? So it was like, let's roll you. So anyway, yeah. And then I will. There we go.
Oh,
There's the Robin.
beautiful.
All of this will be up. All of mine will be up on Instagram in a little bit. I just ask that you tag me on Instagram and post yours, and I will share it so that we can get the maximum sharing on the Instagram. Anyway, thank you everyone for being here. We'll go ahead and wrap this up. I feel like the internet was giving me a message. Anyway, yeah, I heard Chris told you all the places I'll be. The only thing he did miss is, and this is gonna sound almost Inception-esque. Next Sunday, I'll be live streaming again, 11 a.m. PST, with Brick Something. So,
Beautiful.
yeah. And we're gonna
Beautiful.
color Sectar pages from the Sectar's coloring book. So it'll be fun. Join us for that. Please go watch Chris on Brick Something today. The news is good. And before that, check out Highly Articulated at 2:05 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Adam.
Adam's great.
I say that as a member of his channel. So I do feel like I need to disclose, but I don't recommend anyone to you guys that I don't watch myself. So make sure you like and subscribe to Chris as well. There is some great evergreen Batwing material there. And there's an episode of he and I talking to Soka, so go hear our opinion on a show you've probably already watched and already forgotten, because that's how our attention spans work these days. And with all that said, thank you to everyone in the chat for hanging out with us today. We appreciate it. I'm speaking for Chris because that's who I am now. Anyway, Wretched Toy Princess out. Bye.